guest is a truly fascinating gentleman. He happens to be 93 years old, and he is the father of public relations. In the course of his 70-year career, some of his clients have been Presidents Wilson, Hoover, Coolidge, and Eisenhower, Thomas Edison, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Enrico Caruso. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Edward Bernays.
Hi, Doctor. Good to see you. Come on up over here. There you go. Have a seat right here.
Thank you very much for being here. I mentioned to the people how old you were. I hope you don't mind me
It's a
telling
little
them that.
quiet, Rose.
What kind of a doctor are you? What is
Well, let me say, first of all, that everybody has 5 ages and they don't match. I happen to be 93 chronologically,
right?
but I'm 61 physiologically. Mentally, I don't know, I suppose I'm 45.
Is it so bad that I need to stop it?
No, it was a little dim, that's all. We'll get by.
And societally, how I adjust to other people. I wouldn't quiver if I saw poor Mr. Reagan. I'd say, "Hi, Reagan." And emotionally, I won't tell that to anybody.
So now you won't tell your emotional age to anybody?
No. Will you tell yours?
Well, based on your statistics, I passed on weeks ago.
I'll accept that.
It was a lovely service, and I'm sorry you couldn't be there, but... all right, now, doctor, tell me again what the doctor is. What are we dealing with?
Well,
You're the father of
what
public
we're
relations.
dealing with really is the concept that people will believe me more if you call me doctor.
Oh, I see.
Pause it right there, Rose. So, did everybody catch what he just said? This is exactly the kind of thing. He just gave away one of his big secrets, although most people probably went right over their heads. If I tell you something that is coming from a supposed place of authority, you're more likely to believe what it is I'm trying to push on you. Everyone get it? He knew what the hell he was doing.
And you've got to realize the reason we always point out he's the double nephew of Sigmund Freud is because these are the beginning of the mind hacking sciences. And for him to be able to make a statement like that, almost certainly they ran, tests and stuff to figure these things out. But I mean, we can attach the other side of the family to the beginning of psychology. I'm almost certain. Wouldn't you say, Jason?
Oh, well, absolutely. What do they call it? Psychoanalysis is what Freud got very well known for once his name got out there. They didn't have the internet back then, so you had to do your own legwork to really get to be known, but having Edward Bernays as your double nephew was probably immensely helpful. By the way, I just dated this. This goes back to 85 when he was about 93 or so. He lived into his hundreds and passed away in the 90s.
And that old cliche fits here. Birds of a feather flock together. I'm going to say a thing. It might not be popular in a lot of places, but I say it the way I see it. And if you want to talk about psychiatry or psychology or whatever the correct term was, I was doing research the other day and I found a clip of a fellow who went out, stood in a place where a lot of big name psychiatrists would be. It was like a convention or something. And he asked one simple question: how many of your patients have you cured? Not a single one of them had cured anybody of anything. And then he went on to ask some questions about how they drug people. And they basically all said the same thing: we guess. And so birds of a feather flock together. We have, the whole connection to the beginning of psychology through his double uncle. And he's basically the beginning of marketing. I don't like the public relations thing. He's marketing. And marketing is dishonest, at least in this country. Anyhow, go ahead, Rose.
Okay, do you want to keep watching the rest of this clip? Because I also have the clip you were just referring to about the psychiatrist.
Let's finish this out because I actually like what he says to Letterman.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
That's a good idea.
And actually, I am doctor because 2 universities gave me honorary degrees.
All right.
One was Boston University,
He's a fake doctor.
and the other was Babson College.
So you're making the most of those degrees. Well, let's talk a little bit about public relations? You've been doing it for 70 years. Who were some of your 72? Who were some of your early accounts? Who were clients of yours back in the very beginning?
In the very beginning, Procter and Gamble was one of our accounts. They had a white floating soap called ivory soap.
Right. That was the selling point. It would actually sort of float in the bathtub or wherever you were bathing, I guess.
That's right. And they came to me one day and said that mothers washed the faces of the children, and they hated soap because their eyes were stinging from the soap. And that when people grew up, they wouldn't use any soap because they get conditioned in childhood, according to Freud, my uncle.
So you get ahead of yourself, but it's true. Your uncle was Sigmund Freud.
And so we made a research, made a study, and we found a sculptor, Brenda Putnam, who used soap instead of wax in developing her sculpture. And it then occurred to me that if we could develop soap sculpture competition, I went to a psychologist and he said every child has a creative instinct. If we got some sculptors to be judges and had soap sculpture competitions for children in different age groups,
that would get them accustomed to using the soap.
That would get them to love soap.
Did it work?
Only accustomed to it. The fascinating thing to me was that after the first year, 22 million children were loving soap, and the sale of soap just went up.
Well, if you say so.
This is a matter of
record. We could probably chart that.
Dow Jones reports. Yeah. You can look them up if you want.
In the introduction here, I mentioned some of your clients have been past presidents. Eisenhower, Coolidge, Hoover, Wilson. Which one of those people really was in desperate need of your services? Who was the dullest of the bunch that you handled?
Well, let me quickly tell you the Coolidge story. Harding had died, Coolidge became president, and Coolidge was running for president, decided to be president, and Alice Roosevelt Longworth, who was the daughter of Theodore Roosevelt, had started a bon mot of few words that went around the country as if by radio and by Letterman TV, and they called on me and said, "We're worried that this may defeat Coolidge." Well,
she was sort of bad-mouthing the candidate.
That's right.
What was she saying? Do you recall? Was she?
Oh yes, she said that Coolidge had been weaned on a pickle.
Oh yeah. That'll tip an election just like that. If word of that gets out.
So I agree with you because.
So now you were called in. You have to offset this man had a very dour image.
That's right.
Okay. So what did you do for Calvin?
I never use the word image because image is shadow. I use the word reputation or identity.
Okay. What did you do for his identity?
So I decided first that we should bring down Fannie Hurst, Edna Ferber, and other women writers of the period. And then I thought it would be a good idea to bring down some ecstatic dancers.
Ecstatic dancers?
Like the Dolly Sisters.
Uh-huh.
I don't
remember the Dolly. I've heard of them, but I never saw them.
And Al Jolson.
Entertainers, well-known figures of the day.
And 40 others. And at that time, anybody who was on the stage was a little bit off color. And Coolidge had breakfast with them, and when Slemp, his secretary, came up to him and said, "There's a cabinet meeting going on and they need you, Mr. President," he said, "I'm busy." And he got elected.
So this was to show that he was a regular sort of guy.
That's right.
All right.
And it did.
Doctor, we're running out of time here, but I do want to show this photo. You mentioned your uncle, Sigmund Freud, and maybe we can get a shot of this. And I'd like you to come back at another time, and we'll talk more about public relations and also about your famous family. But pick yourself out of this photo and also tell the people where Mr. Freud is.
Well, Sigmund Freud is on the right.
Right there.
And he is traveling.
That's you, isn't it?
That's me there.
And who's this guy right there?
That's his brother.
That's his brother.
That's his brother.
You were
and
10
then
years
my
older.
sister. I was 10
Yeah.
years old. It was 1901.
We have to, let me interrupt. We'll do a commercial. We'll be right back. We're coming back here. Well, that'll be a lot of fun. Now, come back and see us. Will you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Have a good weekend. Well, no, don't leave now. That's it, folks. Have a nice weekend. Come back later. Thank you.
All right, so that was 1985. He lived all the way till I think 93 to 103 years old, if I'm remembering correctly. And as you can tell, he was still with it, still got it. And he was actually working pretty much up until he died. He was just really into what he did. He called it public relations. He's considered the father of public relations, and there really wasn't that kind of a thing before him. He pretty much made that industry.
Not his wife, though, Jason. His wife passed away from lung cancer, probably as a result of smoking, which he ironically promoted.
That's actually true. He used to promote cigarettes as being paid to do so, but then they went on, I think it was several decades later, very much an anti-smoking campaign because of his wife.
Well, the thing is women culturally in America didn't smoke before Bernays. Bernays broke the wall.
And certainly not publicly, by the way.
Right, and here's another thing. If you go back to Hollywood movies of the 40s, maybe even definitely into the 50s, 30s, every time they walk into a room, they pour a glass of hard alcohol and light a cigarette. It's almost one time my wife and I were counting every scene. They poured drinks, multiple drinks in some, and everybody lit up a cigarette. And you know damn well it's going to be connected to things like what Bernays was doing, because the point that I'm referencing, women were already smoking in public. But one of his claims to fame was breaking the stigma of women smoking in public.
And he had another big campaign with that, with not just the women in public, where he did the torches of freedom, as he called them. I forget which cigarette company it was. I think it was Lucky Strike, actually. But then he did another one after that, because women weren't liking the color of the package or something like that. You'll have to forgive me, folks. I'm pulling all this out of memory, but it was great. He got, I think it was like the Paris fashion people to do the same color green that the package was. There you go. So it's on screen.
I think part of it too, like, remember Virginia Slims? I think that's how we got the Virginia Slims thing. It was attached to fashion, and it was made attractive to women.
Crow, look at this on the screen. It's an airship on the ad. Of airships.
There it is. You can't smoke in an airship. They're full of flammable gas. That's how you get things like the Hindenburg. Unbelievable.
So it's awesome that he got the Paris fashion, I think this might have been in the 30s, to do the same color green. So now the Lucky Strikes package, now he's got women smoking, now he's being paid by Lucky Strikes to get them to match the green so that their pack of cigarettes matches their pretty dress.
Girl, look at this. We have the Hollywood actress who's so famous, and I'm so young, I don't even know who that is. Who is that, Crow? Is that from Casablanca?
No, it's definitely not from Casablanca.
Oh my God.
You got me.
That might actually be a drawn picture. I don't even know if that's a real image.
Yeah, I think that might be a model, because the real black and whites from Hollywood of that era were actually lit like a portrait.
Wasn't it Casablanca that had a woman smoking, and it was one of the first ones?
I would be surprised, because if I'm not mistaken, Casablanca is around 1942, so it's pushing the propaganda of the war in real time during the war, 1942. I think we supposedly meet on a deck somewhere and sign papers supposedly ending the psychological operation in 45 or something like that.
Okay, I'm looking it up, and it's telling me that women started smoking on screen mostly. Okay, so in the silent era, they didn't.
Oh.
Code Hollywood. Joan Crawford in 1928, which is when Propaganda by Edward Bernays came out. So the same year that Edward Bernays wrote Propaganda, Joan Crawford featured women smoking as part of their modern woman persona.
There has never been a time when Hollywood wasn't in the hip pocket of both the psychological operations that constantly go on in this world and of so-called Washington, D.C. It's been connected at the hip from the get-go. They actually used to run on TCM this review of, I want to say it's in the very early 40s, might be the late 30s, but they do a few things that they'll never show now. They show all the silicone masks of every actor that was ever at MGM, and the quality is, I mean, think about this. Go look at The Wizard of Oz. We're told that's 1939. We're told that's the first color picture. All right, that's how old it is. Look at the makeup on The Wizard of Oz. Now jump into the 80s and look at some of the makeup jobs going on. They're inferior by leaps and bounds, almost like they're intentionally making it look like they can't get to the level that is portrayed on black and white TV in the 60s with Mission Impossible, where they regularly go into a country, take over the country, replace the president with one of them, and one of them is wearing a voice translator to make them sound right and a mask that looks as real as the person they're swapping out.
There's an awesome clip if you want to talk about these masks and how good the technology had gotten. There's a clip with a lady speaking to President H.W. Bush about the spy masks, basically, the things you would be wearing if you're trying to do